Greetings, this is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct from Black Facts Headquarters Central this evening with another installment of Doc Ock at noon and 9. Hope everybody's out there feeling real fine. Since you now know what time it is, you know what you need to do, so let's not turn this into a quiz. Just act like a whiz and go ahead and give us a like if you're watching on Facebook, a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and then go ahead and spread the word far and wide, up and down, all through the land about Black Facts and what we do here during our time on the live streams we do. Yes, daily live streams, at least one a day. Most days we do two, but on weekends we cut it down to one, and we put up our playlist earlier in the day for our. If you haven't seen them yet, you need to go to YouTube and check them out. We had two really good ones this weekend. One on Althea Gibson and Juneteenth, and the other on Juneteenth and Winnie Mandela. So you should check both of them out. They're very, very informative, entertaining, and inspirational in terms of that, even inspirational. All right. Proverb for today is, he who digs too deep for a fish may come out with a snake. He who digs too deep for a fish may come out with a snake. Okay, interesting proverb. I've never dug that deep to come out with a snake when I was looking for a fish. But maybe some of you all out there have had a little more experience with this than I have. Meanwhile, let's continue reading our story. Actually, we're going to continue reading Althea Gibson's story. I always wanted to be somebody. And Althea Gibson definitely was, and always will be someone truly special in the annals of Black history, American history, and even on a worldwide stage. So we're going to just take it to the stage because Althea deserves some recognition. Okay, she didn't make a lot of money out there playing tennis, but she should at least get some recognition. We need to keep saying her name. Chapter 3, I believe it is. Yep. Let's see here. What does it say? 1, 2, 3. Yep. Chapter 3, Between Two Worlds. So, if you've been following, we've been reading about Althea and how she grew up. She was born in the Carolinas, but she grew up in Harlem, USA. Once they got off that cotton plantation, Althea was more likely to be seen in the pool halls and the streets of New York City than she was picking some cotton out in the field like her parents had done. The 143rd Street block my mother and father played on was a police athletic league play street, which means that the policemen blocked off the street during the daytime, so it was closed to traffic, and we could use it for a playground. One of the big games on the street was paddle tennis, and I was the champion of the block. In fact, I even won some medals representing 143rd Street in competition with other Harlem play streets. I still have them too. I guess I've kept every medal or trophy I ever won anywhere. Paddle tennis is played on a court marked off much like a tennis court, only about half the size. You use a wooden racket instead of one with strings, and you can play with either a sponge rubber ball or a regular tennis ball. It's a lot different from real tennis, and yet it's a lot like it too. There was a musician fellow, Buddy Walker, who's known now as Harlem's society orchestra leader, but who in those days didn't get much work in the summer months and filled in by working for the city as a play leader. He was watching me play paddle tennis one day when he suddenly got the idea that I might be able to play regular tennis just as well if I got the chance. So, out of the kindness of his heart, he bought me a couple of secondhand tennis rackets for $5 a piece and started me out hitting balls against the wall on the handball courts at Morris Park. Buddy got very excited about how well I hit the ball. He started telling me all about tennis, about how much I would like the game. He said it would be a good thing for me to become interested in it because I would meet a better class of people and have a chance to make something of myself. He took me up to his apartment to meet his wife, Trini, and their daughter, Fern, and we all talked about it. The next thing that happened was that Buddy took me to the Harlem River tennis courts at 150th Street and 7th Avenue and had me play a couple of sets with one of his friends. He always has insisted that the way I played that day was fantastic for a girl with no experience. And I remember that a lot of the other players on the courts stopped their games to watch me. It was very exciting. It was a competitive sport, and I am a competitive sort of person. Straight out. One of the men who saw me play that first time, a Negro school teacher, Juan Sorrell, suggested to Buddy that he would like to try to work out some way for me to play at the Cosmopolitan Tennis Club, which he belonged to. I was more than willing. The Cosmopolitan is gone now, but in those days, it was the ritzy tennis club in Harlem. All the Sugar Hill Society people belonged to it. Mr. Sorrell's idea was to introduce me to the members of the Cosmopolitan and have me play a few sets with the club's one-armed professional. Did you get that? A one-armed tennis player, Fred Johnson, so that everybody could see what I could do. If I looked good enough, maybe some of them would be willing to chip in to pay for a junior membership for me and to underwrite the cost of my taking lessons from Mr. Johnson. Lucky for me, that's exactly how it worked out. Everybody thought I looked like a real good prospect, and they took up a collection and bought me a membership. I got a regular schedule of lessons from Mr. Johnson, and I began to learn something about the game of tennis. I already knew how to hit the ball, but I didn't know why. He taught me some footwork and how to plan where to hit the ball, and along with that, he also tried to help me improve my personal ways. He didn't like my cocky attitude, and he tried to show me why I should change. I don't think he got too far in that department. My mind was set pretty strong. I was willing to do what he said about tennis, but I figured what I did away from the courts was none of his business. I wasn't exactly ready to start studying how to be a fine lady. Those days, I probably would have been more at home training in Stillman's gym than at the Cosmopolitan Club. I really wasn't the tennis type, but the polite manners of the game would seem so silly to me at first. Gradually began to appeal to me. So did the pretty white clothes. I kept wanting to fight the other player every time I started to lose a match. But I could see that certain things were expected, in fact, required in the way of behavior on a tennis court. And I made up my mind that I would go along with the program. After a while, I began to understand that you could walk out on that court like a lady, all dressed up in white, be polite to everybody, and still play like a tiger. I suppose if Fred Johnson or the club members who were paying from my tennis had known the whole truth about the way I was living, shoot, I wouldn't have lasted long. The Cosmopolitan members were the highest class of Harlem people, and they had set ideas about what was socially acceptable behavior. They were probably stricter than white people of similar position. They felt that they had to be doubly careful in order to overcome the prejudiced belief that all Negroes lived, ate to a room in dirty houses, and drank gin all day, and settled all their arguments with knives. I'm pretty ashamed to say I was still living pretty wild. I was supposed to be looking for a job, but I didn't look very hard because I was too busy playing tennis in the daytime and having fun at night. The hardest work I did, aside from practicing tennis, was to report to the welfare ladies once a week, tell them how I was getting along, and pick up my allowance. Then I would celebrate by spending the whole day in the movies and filling myself with a lot of cheap food. But I guess it would have been too much to expect me to change completely right away. Actually, I realize now that every day I played tennis and got more interested in the game, I was changing a little bit. I just wasn't aware of it. One of the days I remember best at the Cosmopolitan Club was the day Alice Marble came to play an exhibition match there. I can still remember saying to myself, boy, would I like to be able to play tennis like that. She was the only woman tennis player I'd ever seen that I felt exactly that way about. Could she hit? It's a funny thing. I had no way of knowing then that when the time came for me to be up for an invitation to play at Forest Hills, my biggest supporter, aside from a handful of my own people, would be this very same Alice Marble. I began taking lessons from Fred Johnson in the summer of 1941, but it wasn't until a year later that he entered me in my very first tournament. The American Tennis Association, which is almost all Negro, was putting on a New York State Open Championship at the Cosmopolitan Club. And Fred put me in the girls' singles. It was the first tournament I'd ever played in, and I won it. I was a little surprised about winning myself, but not much. By this time, I was used to winning games. I think what mostly made me feel good was that the girl I beat in the finals, Nina Irwin, was a white girl. I can't deny that that made the victory all the sweeter to me. It proved to my own satisfaction that I was not only as good as she was, I was better. Nina also took lessons from Fred Johnson, but I think he was pleased when I won. The other members had no choice. They had to like it. I won, didn't I? Actually, even though almost all the club members were Negroes, a lot of them probably were rooting for Nina because they thought I was too cocky. And they figured it would do me good to get beat. It's always been a fault of mine that I don't let many people get close to me. And not many of those people had any way of knowing what I was really like or what made me that way. I guess they do now. But in those days, part of my defense was in being a show-off. Just the same, winning softened a lot of opinions about me after I showed them the championship material that was in me. Things changed a lot around that club. I found that I was accepted just for my talent, and my attitude toward people didn't seem to matter so much anymore. Not many people I found out find fault with a winner. Later, in the very same year, the summer of 1942, the club took up a collection to send me to the ATA National Girls Championship at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. That was my first national tournament. And I lost in the finals. The girl who beat me was Nana Davis, whose name is now Nana Davis Vaughn. And I think it's interesting to read what Nana said about that match to a reporter who talked to her after I won at Wimbledon 14 years later. Unfortunately for us, our time is up. And I'm sure that this is just going to make you feel, oh, it's going to fill you with disgust. But, well, you know what? I can read one more paragraph. I'll read one more paragraph and then I'll stop. Althea was a very crude creature. She had the idea she was better than anybody. I can remember her saying, "Who's this Nana Davis? Let me at her." And after I beat her, she headed straight for the grandstand without bothering to shake hands. Some kid had been laughing at her, and she was going to throw him out. Right. Okay, so now, so that was that's not the end of this chapter. The chapter goes on for a while longer, but this is her entree, her introduction to the world of tennis as played by black folks. Okay, because contrary to popular belief, black people do play tennis. My cousin plays tennis. He plays quite a bit. And he's been involved with tennis. I don't know how many years, but he definitely likes tennis. So, contrary to popular belief, we do play tennis. We do like tennis. We just don't see very many of us, even to this day, on the national stage. And some of the people we do see, like Naomi Osaka, feel very pressured by the media with all their constant questioning and asking of the same tired questions over and over and over again. And that's something that really is a skill, being able to parry those questions from the media, because they love to ask questions to make you doubt yourself, doubt your own sanity. We call it gaslighting today. They like to gaslight folks. And so Naomi apparently is taking a break now, but we're hoping that Naomi returns to the tennis courts sometime in the near future, maybe next year. Maybe Naomi will return. We will have to see. But the girl needs some help in being able to deal with the media, because they are a pain in the derriere. And that's a known fact. Everybody knows that. So I don't have to harp on that. Meanwhile, we're going to close out this session. This is Doc Ock at noon and 9 signing off. But before I do, let me talk to the little children out there. You know what time it is. You know what you need to do. Take your little head and lay it on your little pillow, on your little bed, and close those your eyes while you wait on that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you know that it's time for you to rise and shine, oh children of mine. You know what I'm talking about. And as for you adults, a couple simple things we need you to do. Number one, if you're looking at us on Facebook, give us a like. If you're looking at us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And you can subscribe as well. Subscribing would be very helpful for you, more so than me. And then last but not least, go ahead and become a sustaining member of our Black Facts family. How do you do that? Make a donation on a recurring basis. Okay? Make a donation on a recurring basis. $5, $10, $15 a month. It's not even anything that you should have to worry about. It's a small contribution to a wide-ranging source of information. A wide-ranging source of information, because we cover the waterfront. Next week, this is our last our last day with Althea, and we finished up with Winnie on Friday. So next week, we're going to be moving on to some new women we're going to be talking about for the next week. I haven't quite decided who's it going to be yet, but we're looking at Mary Fields, stagecoach Mary Fields. We're looking at who's the other woman? Oh, Nanny from of the Maroons from Jamaica, and then I had Sojourner Truth. So we haven't decided which ones, but we like to do people from different places. Some from the U.S., somebody from somewhere else. They could be from Africa, Asia. They could be from anywhere else on the planet, because we want people to come away with the idea that black people in the U.S. are not the only black folks that are doing things that are notable. We're everywhere. Meanwhile, I'm going to say peace out without a doubt, with justice, because anything less disgusts us. Peace out tonight. I'm moving on to my extra. Check it out. Check it out.